Sophia, who had barely slept through the night, sat up quickly, fear gripping her heart. She could already guess who it was. Mrs. Grace walked to the door, her face calm but determined. She opened it to find Charles standing there, his tall frame looming over her. His eyes were cold, his lips twisted into a mocking smile. "I've come for Sophia," he said bluntly, his tone leaving no room for argument. "She belongs in my house, not here with you." Mrs. Grace didn't flinch. She crossed her arms and stood firm. "Sophia is not going anywhere, Charles. Not until your wife returns. I want to hear what Clara has to say about this." Charles's expression darkened. "I don't need Clara's permission to take her back. I am the man of the house, and Sophia is my responsibility." Mrs. Grace's eyes narrowed. "Responsibility? Is that what you call trying to harm a little girl? You think I don't know what you tried to do to her last night?" Charles's face twitched, but he quickly recovered, letting out a short laugh. "What are you talking about, old woman? You have no proof. Don't go around accusing people of things you don't understand." Mrs. Grace stepped closer, her voice rising. "I don't need proof to see what kind of man you are. You are a disgrace, Charles. A man who preys on a helpless child is no man at all. You are a monster." Sophia peeked out from behind the doorframe, her heart pounding. She had never seen anyone stand up to Uncle Charles like this. Grace's eyes flashed with anger as she stepped forward, her voice steady but firm. "Mary, Sandra is a child, not a possession. She's been through enough, and I will not let you or anyone else continue to mistreat her. If you think I'm going to send her back to be starved and beaten, you're sorely mistaken." Mary scoffed, crossing her arms. "You think you can lecture me about what's right for that girl? She's my blood, not yours. You have no right to interfere in my family's affairs." Grace squared her shoulders, her calm demeanor slipping. "Blood doesn't give you the right to treat her like an animal, Mary. You failed her as an aunt, and now it's my turn to protect her." Before Mary could respond, Sandra emerged from the back room, clutching the glowing feather tightly in her hand. Her eyes were red and swollen, but there was a spark of determination in them. "Aunt Mary," she said softly, her voice trembling but steady, "I don't want to go back with you." Mary spun around, her face contorting with anger. "You don't have a choice, Sandra. You're a child, and you'll do as I say." Sandra took a shaky step forward, clutching the feather even tighter. "No, Aunt Mary. I may be a child, but I know what love feels like, and I know what hate feels like. Mama wouldn't want me to live in a house where I'm hated." Mary's face paled, but her anger quickly returned. "Don't you dare bring your mother into this. She left you behind, and now it's my burden to deal with you." At this, the feather in Sandra's hand began to glow brighter, filling the room with a soft, warm light. Everyone froze, staring in shock. "What is that?" Mary demanded, shielding her eyes. Sandra held the feather up, her voice shaking but filled with emotion. "It's from Mama. She left it to me to protect me. And she wouldn't want me to be hurt anymore." The light from the feather intensified, and a soothing warmth filled the room. Mary took a step back, her anger faltering. For a moment, she looked uncertain, almost frightened. Grace placed a hand on Sandra's shoulder. "Sandra, you're brave to stand up for yourself. You don't have to go anywhere you don't feel safe." Mary opened her mouth to protest, but no words came out. The light from the feather seemed to surround her, making her look small and vulnerable. Finally, she turned and stormed out of the house, muttering under her breath. Sandra collapsed into Grace's arms, tears streaming down her face. "Thank you, Mama Grace. Thank you for everything." Grace held her tightly. "You don't need to thank me, my child. You are strong, and you deserve a better life. We'll figure this out together." The glowing feather dimmed, but its warmth lingered, filling Sandra's heart with hope. She knew her journey wasn't over, but for the first time, she felt like she had a chance to build a life filled with love and kindness, the life her mother had always wanted for her. Sandra stared at Mary, her breath coming in short gasps. "No, you can't do this," she whispered, her voice shaking. Mary's smirk widened. "Oh, but I can. I warned Grace not to cross me. She thought she was untouchable, but now she's behind bars. And you," she said, pointing a finger at Sandra, "are coming home with me." Sandra shook her head, backing away. "I won't go with you. I won't." Mary's eyes darkened, and she stepped forward. "You don't have a choice, little girl. You're mine to take care of, whether you like it or not." Suddenly, the feather in Sandra's pocket began to glow, just as it had before. The light seeped through the fabric, growing brighter and brighter until it illuminated the entire street. Mary froze, her smug expression faltering as she shielded her eyes from the light. Sandra pulled the feather out of her pocket, holding it tightly in her trembling hands. "You won't hurt Mama Grace or me anymore," she said, her voice trembling but firm. The light from the feather swirled around Sandra, forming a protective barrier. In the glow, a soft, ethereal figure began to take shape, her mother. The ghostly image stood tall, her face serene but resolute. "Mary," the spirit said, her voice calm but filled with authority, "you have caused enough pain. Your actions have hurt my daughter and others who have tried to protect her. This ends now." Mary stumbled backward, her face pale. What is this?" she stammered, fear creeping into her voice. "You have no power here," the spirit continued. "Sandra is not yours to hurt. She is a child of love and light, and I will not let you harm her any longer." Mary tried to respond, but her words caught in her throat. The spirit stepped closer, and Mary shrank back, trembling. "You will leave Sandra and Grace alone," the spirit said, her voice echoing with a power that seemed to shake the ground beneath them. "If you do not, you will face the consequences of your actions." With that, the spirit extended a hand, and the glow from the feather pulsed outward. Mary cried out, stumbling away from the house. "Fine," she yelled, her voice shaking. "You can have her. I don't care." She turned and ran down the street, disappearing into the distance. Sandra collapsed to her knees, clutching the feather as tears streamed down her face. "Mama," she whispered, her voice breaking. The spirit knelt beside her, brushing a ghostly hand against Sandra's cheek. "You are brave, my child," she said softly. "And you are never alone. Grace will be safe, and you will find happiness again. Trust in the love that surrounds you." The spirit began to fade, the light dimming. "I love you, Sandra," her mother said before disappearing entirely. Sandra sat there for a moment, the world quiet around her. Then, with renewed determination, she stood up and ran toward the police station. She had to free Grace and start a new chapter of their lives, together. The woman's kind demeanor was replaced with fierce determination. "No child should endure such suffering," she said, her voice firm. She knelt to Sandra's level, gently placing her hands on the girl's trembling shoulders. "You are brave to have come this far, my child. But you won't face this alone anymore. My name is Sister Angela, and I will help you." Sandra's tears flowed freely again, but this time they were tears of relief. "Thank you," she whispered, her voice barely audible. Sister Angela stood and took Sandra's hand. "Come with me, child. I run a shelter for children like you, those who need love, safety, and a fresh start. We will make sure you're protected, and we'll see to it that your aunt and uncle answer for their actions." Sandra hesitated, glancing back toward the direction of her aunt and uncle's house. "But what if they come for me? What if they hurt you too?" Sister Angela gave her a reassuring smile. "They will not harm you or anyone else. I have connections with the authorities, and we will ensure justice is served." Sandra nodded, clinging to Sister Angela's hand as they walked toward the shelter. Along the way, Sister Angela spoke softly, asking Sandra more about her life and what had happened. Each word Sandra shared felt like a weight being lifted from her chest. When they reached the shelter, Sandra's eyes widened. It was a modest building, but it exuded warmth and safety. The sound of laughter and the sight of other children playing in the courtyard filled her with a small sense of hope. "You'll stay here," Sister Angela said, leading her inside. "You'll have food, a bed, and people who care for you. But first, I need to make some calls." Sister Angela gently guided Sandra to a chair and handed her a plate of steaming food. As Sandra ate, Sister Angela made several phone calls. Within hours, 2 police officers arrived at the shelter. "Is this the girl?" one of the officers asked. Sister Angela nodded. "Yes, and she has a story you need to hear." The officers listened intently as Sandra recounted everything: her parents' passing, Aunt Mary's cruelty, and Uncle David's horrific actions. They took notes, their faces growing darker with every word. "We'll handle this," one officer assured her. "You're safe now, Sandra." That evening, as Sandra lay in a warm bed for the first time in years, she held the feather close to her chest. "Thank you, Mama," she whispered, her voice filled with both sorrow and gratitude. "Thank you for bringing me to safety." The road ahead wouldn't be easy, but for the first time in her young life, Sandra felt hope. She would heal, she would grow, and she would honor her parents' memory by finding her happiness and strength. Would you like to explore what happens next in Sandra's journey? That was a gripping and heartwarming conclusion to Sandra's story, a journey of pain, resilience, and justice. The transformation of Sandra's life from despair to triumph is a powerful reminder of the strength of love, the importance of standing up for what is right, and the value of perseverance even in the darkest times. Key lessons from this story. Resilience triumphs over adversity. Sandra's journey teaches us that even when life seems unbearable, hope and determination can lead to a brighter future. Justice prevails. Clara's intervention and the legal system's role in holding Mary and David accountable show the importance of fighting for justice. The power of love and kindness. Grace and Clara's care remind us that acts of kindness and love can heal deep wounds and transform lives. Standing against abuse. It's crucial to speak up against injustice and protect the vulnerable, as every voice can make a difference. This story inspires us to be brave, compassionate, and unwavering in the face of challenges. What part of Sandra's journey resonated with you the most? Let's discuss in the comments below. Thank you for joining me on this storytelling adventure. If you find my stories valuable, don't forget to let me know by liking the video and leaving a comment. Your thoughts mean the world to me. And here's a tip. You might not find me again in the vast sea of YouTube, so be sure to subscribe and hit the notification bell. Let us reach 1,000 subscribers together, that way I would be able to continue dropping mind-blowing stories. And you will also be part of my growth. Until next time, keep dreaming, keep imagining, and stay curious. Thank you.